How do you tell that she just had sex in less than 24 hours? I came across this discussion somewhere online, and it was actually sad to see misinformation being peddled there. So I decided, how about we just make a video to come and tell what is factual and what's not factual. And this is how I'm going to do it. We're going to start with the less factual ones, and then we move toward the more factual ones to a point where when you go to a hospital, how can a doctor tell that you just had sex in less than 24 hours? Now, as with all my other videos, this is just for educational purposes only, so you cannot use this video to judge on anyone. And before we go to the first one, maybe you can tell us which one do you think is the more factual way of telling if someone just had sex somewhere outside. Maybe you can tell us in the comment region. And the next video should be one of these two. How do you calculate safe days so that you can use that either as a contraceptive method or a way of getting pregnant? Also, if you are beyond 45 years, how do you increase chances of getting pregnant? Now, those are two very interesting videos that we should keep a watch on. So make sure you're subscribed, and also make sure you have the bell on. Let's go to the first one. She's unusually calm. Her name is Mora Omibi Kwamboka, and all of a sudden, she's out of her character. She's calm, and she doesn't want even to argue or even quarrel. Her tone is well. Okay, you send her water. She comes with 2 glasses, warm water and cold water. You make the choice. She's so nice. Now, first of all, let's get to know what usually happens during sex for you to get the same feeling. One, we have hormones that usually produced during the physiology of sex. We have oxytocin. We have the reward system hormone that we call dopamine. And again, this is a cardio activity. So you are exercising your muscles, even your heart. So you get to a point where when you're exercising, this is a cardio, you get exhausted. So you want to rest and have the body recover. Also for the hormones, I'm sure you've seen people immediately after sex, they just want to sleep. Some even go to sleep directly after that activity. So it can be, yes, there was sex. Again, we cannot use this as a basis of that because we have other activities that can give you the same thing. Like for example, she was out there running. Maybe the lift was not functioning, so she went to the stairs and she's tired, she wants to rest. Or she's just bored. You know, ladies usually, moods usually sometimes go with the flow of the hormones. And again, she can be sick. We have viral infections that actually make people get malaise. Malaise is that feeling of you just want to rest. You don't want to do anything. So you cannot use this as a basis of knowing whether someone had sex unless you have more context, like a CCTV footage. Number 2, skin glowing. Now in this one, there can be some truth in that, because when you're having that sexual activity, temperature usually go a little bit higher because you need more energy, and when you're breaking down energy, you produce heat as a byproduct. Now this heat will have to be forced out of the body, and guess what will happen? Vasodilation. This vasodilation will bring more blood to the surface, and this will give the skin kind of a certain glow. And again, you see when you're about to sweat, there is a certain glow you usually get. This is because you have some tiny droplets of water on the skin surface that are just ready for evaporation to cool down your body. So this can happen during that sexual activity. And again, there is another thing that usually happen, the flushing, that you find if you are light-skinned or maybe you are Caucasian, you find you have some love spots. Yeah, you get some reddish spots on your face. And this is still the same thing. Blood is being forced out of the core of the body toward the skin surface, so that you get to lose a lot of that heat, and this will give you the same flushing. But then you'll have to know that yes, that's what will happen during sex, but or even something that is closer to sex. But then you need to know that we also have other things that can give you the same thing, like for example the flushing of the skin. Any other emotion can do that. She can be sad or maybe excited over something. That is the same thing that will happen to her skin. Also, another thing that can give you flushing is, you see, when you have an inflammation, maybe you have some inflammation just on your skin. It will become red and it will be confused. It can be confused from flushing that comes from a sexual activity. For the skin glowing, it can be that she just have a very good skincare routine, or maybe something is working. You see, when you have a healthy skin, it's supposed to glow. A very good healthy glow. Now it can be that maybe she's been taking good amount of water during the day, or maybe she just started a very good skincare routine. Like for example, I have CeraVe products there that will talk about them in the maybe future videos, and yeah, they give you a very good healthy glow. It can be that that's what's happening. Again, this is another one that we cannot use to know whether someone had sex unless you have a CCTV footage, so you'll have to have context. Exhaustion. Now this one, we've touched this one a little bit, but then you'll have to know that yes, you can be exhausted from a sexual activity, or you can be exhausted from other things. Like for example, you are running somewhere, like I said, maybe you just used the stairs instead of the lift, or maybe you are out of the gym, you are coming from the gym, you don't want to do anything. It can be an infection. We have viral infection like common cold that will make you feel tired all the time. until you clear that infection. So they just feel tired. So you can easily confuse that from she was just out there for sexual activity. So unless you have a CCTV footage for this one, you cannot use it. Now we are moving towards those which are a bit more factual. Now, easy to lubricate. Now this one, you see, when there is a sexual tension, or maybe there is something about to happen, her body can be alert. Or when she had sex, the body also might be alert, thinking that maybe there will be a continuation of whatever was happening. So the glands and even the nervous system alert. So they can easily trigger production of the sexual fluids that will lubricate. Just, for that. A conflicting situation can be, it's close to her ovulation. And this is that time of the cycle where the body is trying to trick you into having sex so that you get to be pregnant. Now, you find that urge for sex goes high. You are easily triggered. Even a touch can easily trigger you. And it can go for up to even 2 days. So if you coincidentally get to meet her this time, you can easily be triggered to think that she was out there. Another one which is still conflicting can be that they are normal discharge, which women usually get quite frequently. We have the first one, which is close to ovulation, and this is in preparation to should there be sex. Now, the discharge that they most of the time usually clear, it's to wash off whatever might be there, might be acidity or just debris, just anything that was just to prepare the way for the sperms and to enhance the possibility that they might survive through the birth canal, the vagina. So that's that. Before the menstruation starts, there can also be a discharge, and this is to clear the path. And also after you are done with that, to wash off everything, you might get another discharge. So it can be normal, and you can easily confuse that one. Another claim that I saw was looseness. Okay, there's some truth in this, because during a sexual activity, there is a relaxation of the muscles, and this is biological because you see, vagina is flexible, it's elastic. That's the reason it can be able to accommodate a baby. That's the reason it can be able to accommodate any size. You can have a monster toy, and it will easily be able to accommodate that. You can have a tiny toy, and it will be accommodated just because it's biologically able to accommodate various sizes, because it's, like I said, elastic. But then it usually get back to the original shape within some, it's actually temporary, it doesn't take long. So there is some truth in this. During a sexual activity, there can be relaxation of the muscles, the pelvic floor muscles. One is because, you're exercising those muscles, so they get tired. So when you get out of the activity, they might relax like any other muscle. So there can be some truth in this. And also rushing to the toilet every now and then, and this is very common during this activity because of relaxation of the pelvic floor muscle, which also accommodate the bladder. So you're not able to keep urinating for long, so you cannot keep as much of it. So just a tiny volume, you're forced to go to the washroom, and it's quite. And then it can be from a sexual activity. Also, that running to the toilet can be a kind of a reflex for your body to flush out whatever might be coming up through the urethra. Can be. So there is some truth in this. But as usual, unless you have a CCTV footage for this one, you cannot tell, because you have other things that can lead to relaxation of the pelvic floor muscle. Like, for example, they've stayed for really long without any sexual activity, leading to the weakening of the muscles there. So they might feel loose, or maybe they just give birth, or maybe they were just having a dildo somewhere. It's not necessarily that dildo is still a sexual activity, yes, but this is a little bit more true compared to others like her. She's unusually calm. The other claim is soreness, and you can observe this through the way she's walking. Maybe you can feel that she's having troubles walking because maybe she's sore. Now, yes, it can be as a result of having sex, because there is friction that can be involved, and especially if you know that your lady doesn't lubricate as much, so there can be high friction in that, and this can make them sore. And also, if the intercourse was rough, not giving the lady enough time to wet and lubricate, it can be a cause of high friction, which can lead to the same. But we cannot take this seriously, because we have other things that can give the same result. Like, for example, she's been walking and she was not having something that's separating the thighs, so there was friction. So the walking style will definitely change. And also, we have things like infections. It can be that she had a fungal infection, and is what is giving her all the itchiness. Or maybe another infection giving an inflammation there, it will give the same result. Maybe you can check whether there is an infection, or maybe there is the rubbing between the thighs that can give the similar results. So you need context and probably a CCTV footage for this one. Another claim is queefing. Queefing is different from farting. Farting is smelly. Queefing is not. just a gas coming out of the vagina. Now, the reason for that can be relaxation of the muscles. Now, I'm talking in the context of sex. Relaxation of the muscle, and that led to maybe air getting in. It can be also air was pushed in during the activity. So this air, when it's being released, like for example, she's squatting. When you do that, you force the air out and it comes with a sound. So that's queefing. Farting is when you have the air inside your gut. And when this air is coming out, it's quite different. It's smelly. It can push cockroach out of the house. Now, let's go to why this one cannot be accurate. It can be atrophy. Vaginal atrophy can be due to maybe she's getting into a menopause, or maybe there is less estrogen in the body. So there is thinning of the vaginal wall. When this happens, you tend to have a looser feeling vagina. So you have more space there, so you can easily suck in more air. And when you're walking, maybe when you do something that presses that air out, you're going to queef. So unless you have a CCTV footage on this one, you'll have to have enough contacts for you to use this one as a way of telling if she had sex outside. We are getting more factual. Let's go to the smell. This one can easily sell you out. We have that characteristic smell of the semen. Semen is the composition of sperms and so many other things that usually are produced to support the sperms. So there is that liquid. I don't know how to explain this, but I'm sure you've seen the boiled maize. There is that smell that usually comes with that, a very nice one. Try to add ammonia smell to it. So a mixture of the same, it'll give you something closer to what the sperm smell. Okay, it will depend, but there is that almost universal smell that you're going to get from the sperm. So yeah, it will give you almost similar thing. So if you know how the sperm smells, you can easily pick that from the lady, and you can tell if that was something that happened some few minutes ago. Because even if they wash, it's usually very hard for you to wash all the way up to the cervix, so some of that can still be prevalent there. Also, there is another type of smell, which is the sex smell. It can be so strong that you can smell that from one corner of the room, or it can be faint. You know what yours, maybe you between you and your lady, what that usually is. You can tell. Even this goes to even men. When you meet a lady, they can give you that scent. Vaginas usually have different scents. So that's kind of a trick to the ladies. We're going to also focus on men on the same topic, so you can tell whether he had sex from somewhere. That's another topic we're going to discuss, but then you'll have to tell me in the comment region if you need that. If you do, I'll make a video for that one. Now, friction will give a certain kind of a smell. There is a certain smell that usually comes from the friction between the skins. And I'm sure that at some point in your life you've done this. In high school or maybe in primary school. You put some saliva somewhere and then you rub your skin against your skin. And you rub that long enough and then you smell. You're going to get a certain characteristic of a smell. You can get that after sex or during sex, but there is a caveat here. We have two types of ladies here. We have, okay, let's go to the both extremes. We have those that usually lubricate more, and we have those that usually lubricate less. So those who usually do it more, it's usually hard to tell that smell. But those who usually lubricate less can get that smell because of the friction between their skins. And if there was no external application of lubricant. So if your lady is toward the more wetter side, it's really hard for you to tell. Also, if you use a condom, you know, we have two types. You have scented and unscented. The unscented, there's a certain characteristic smell that usually come with it. The rubber smell. It's something also that you can detect. That is if you have very strong sense of smell. You can detect that it's true. It can be. The reason you cannot use smell is because you can also achieve the same. Like for example, if I just happen to rub my skin against myself like that, it will give you the same. Maybe they were not wearing something that will separate their thighs, so they were having friction and they were walking, so you can give the same thing. So we cannot use this unless we have more context and also a CCTV footage or something that's more incriminating. Let's move to more factual ones. You happen to go down there and you find semen, which is more incriminating. And it comes with a smell that I told you semen has a certain characteristic smell. It's faint, but you can pick it. But then how about when you just find the actual semen there? And you know the difference between a discharge and semen because of the scent that you have. So that's more incriminating. So that one's a bit more factual because where else can you get semen from? And also then you can pick this from the underpants. So it can be that, you know, it's usually very hard for you to remove all that was maybe dropped inside there. It can drip out because that's what usually happens. most of the semen usually drip out because most of the sperms will swim all through the cervix and go to try to look for the egg, but the semen will just drip out. It can go directly to the pants, so you can easily catch it there. Also, when you just find them on the act, that's what I've been calling CCTV footage, you really know that yes, I found them doing the actual thing. So that's 100% sure they were having sex. Now, going to the top of the list, this is the medical aspect, which is more factual. Your doctor might do an examination which is physical. What they're going to look at is, do you have lacerations? Do you have abrasions? Do you have friction points? Do you have remnants of the semen in there? And if you so happen to have the remnants there, they can use a swab to pick some of it and it will be sent to the lab. What might happen is we have several tests that we can do. It can be that under the microscope, there is something that we call saline mount. You just take the swab, then you do emulsification onto a normal saline, and then you observe that there are several things that you might notice. A lot of epithelial cells, which is not that factual to just tell whether someone had sex, but we have the sperms themselves. If you so happen to pick them, women don't produce sperms. So when you find them, that's an alien cell. So it was deposited there. So there was a sexual activity which was involved. So this one can be corroborated using other facts. Like for example, the examination pointed to something like penetration. And by the way, during the physical examination, you might also find relaxation of the cervix can be the same, almost similar. That's a far-fetched one. And I'm going to skip that one because I'll explain that in another video. Another thing that can be tested is acid phosphatases. Now, this is one of the composition of the semen. So if we find that there, we know very well it's not found in ladies. So this is a deposition. It's a deposition of the sperms in there. So there was semen which was involved. It's a test. It can be forensic in nature, meaning that you can use that to prove whether there was deposition of semen onto someone's vagina. So it can be used in court. Also, we have some very interesting things. Now, you see, me, I have my blood group. I have it. And we have antigens on the surface of the red blood cells. Sometimes we have people that we call secretors, meaning that you can get to know their blood group using secretions that you get out of their body. Maybe their saliva, maybe their sexual fluids. So you can get that in their sexual fluids. So if you can just do the tests for secretions, we have H, we have A, we have B, and that is correlated to your blood group. It can be a way of telling if actually there was a sexual deposition, which is more specific to the person who actually did the deposition. Now we have a bonus. In case you find yourself in a situation where there's non-consensual sex and you want to carry evidence, make sure you have nails. Keep some. Now you can scratch someone and get some of their skin cells under your nails. And make sure you don't wash them when you're going to report, so that if evidence is going to be collected, you can easily be able to use the skin cells that you grabbed. And also, if there was penetration, you can easily be able to squeeze some of the sperms out, the semen out, onto your pants, because sometimes they can force you to shower after the activity. And again, after any sexual activity which was non-consensual, don't shower before you report to the police, because you are carrying a lot of evidence with you. So don't destroy that. Just go as you are. Go to the police station and report, and then go to a hospital for examination and collection of the whatever evidence that will be there. If you enjoyed this video, I'm sure you're going to like a video I did on what usually happens when you stay for long without sexual activities. For men here, for women here, and see you in the next video.